Hello everyone, I'm Batpan, about to jump from the Eiffel Tower. This video will cover the function of creating different languages, choosing a language. You can select between any language you want and you can set it like me. I actually use this in my own game. I recently published my own game. If you like a retro VHS psychological horror game, you can check that out. And I actually showed you guys how I did that function inside that game's project. And this video will be put inside a series of videos in which we'll see how we can create different functions that can be used when we're creating our own game. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, a like would be amazing. You can subscribe to see more contents like this. You can comment any opinions or any questions you have. I'll be happy to answer them. So without wasting time, let's start the video. Okay, as you saw in the intro, when I hover over different languages, as you guys see, this text and this text changes. As you guys see, English, Portuguese. So when I click on Portuguese, my whole menu is Portuguese. I'm gonna show you guys how to change all the components in your start menu into Portuguese or English or any language that you add. So let's begin. We actually have a code. This is the actual code that I used in my game. So now I'm gonna create another script. I'm gonna do it from the beginning again, and I'm gonna do it with you guys. I'm gonna right click. I'm gonna create a folder. I'm gonna call YouTube. I'm gonna open it, and I'm gonna create a C# script. I'm gonna call it language changer YouTube. So I double click to open it up. I'm not gonna add Farsi in this because Farsi is actually a lot complicated. I don't want to make the video complicated. I just want to show you guys the functions. If you want to learn how to add Farsi in your game, you can click on top of your screen right now or go to it with a link in the description. So with that being said, up here we're just gonna add a using Unity engine.ui because we want to use a text file in here. This one, and this one, and this one are the things that will disappear when I click on one language. For example, when I press English, these four disappear and these three appear. So what we want to do in the script is when I click on any of these four should disappear and the three things for the main menu should appear. So we're just going to say public game object. I'm going to make it an array. Add these two to make it an array. Array is going to let you put multiple game objects onto one actual game object. This was a simple explanation for that. And I'm going to name it language pack. Instead of writing language pack 1, 2, 3, 4, I just add one array of it. And when I want to access the language pack house number 0, for example, language pack 1, I'm just going to say language pack house number 0. Dot, for example, set active equal to false. That's how an array works. It's actually easy. I just want to explain for the guys who don't know this. So these are for the 4 things that I deactivate, and for the 3 things of the start menu that I activate are, I'm going to call it public again game object. I'm going to make it an array. I'm just going to say start menu pack, and at the start all the components of the language pack are on and all the components of the start menu pack are off. So at the start I'm just going to say active. This at the start, I'm just going to say active or deactive. And inside here, I'm just going to activate the language pack and deactivate the start menu pack. So for the language pack, I'm just going to say language pack house number 0. That's set active, true. And we have 4 components. It starts with 0 and ends with 3. So I'm just going to create 4 of them. 0, 1, 2, 3. 0 is actually 1 in an array. So house number 0 is actually the component of number 1 you create. For example, language number 1 actually goes into the house number 0 of the language pack array. Then I need to deactivate the start menu. So I'm just going to start menu house number 0 that's set active equal to false. And we have 3 components of that. So I'm just going to say 0, 1, 2. And if you guys saw, I actually had 3 texts. It's this one, select your language and link to my social media. These 2 change. So to actually change them, we need to access their text file. I'm just going to say public text. Be careful, you have to add using Unity engine.ui up here to actually use a text file. If you don't add this, it's going to give an error when you ask for a text file. So public text, I'm going to say select language text and a public text for social media text. So if I want to change the values, I just change these 2. We have 3 more texts. It's the language text. For example, Portuguese, Farsi, and English. To access them and change their colors, for example, do a lot of things with them, we need to access their text files as well. So I'm just going to say public text. You can also make this one an array, but I don't want to make this an array to not confuse you guys. I'm going to say English text, public text, 1 for Persian text, public text, Portuguese text. So we have 3 texts. We can access these 3. The other thing, as you guys saw, when I hovered over one of these buttons, you guys could actually hear some clicking. It actually adds to the atmosphere of the game. It makes it more interactive, it makes it more beautiful. And I'm going to tell you guys how I added that. We just need a reference to an audio source. I'm just going to say public audio source. I'm going to name it a source. You can name it whatever you want. I'm going to name it a source. Then we need a public audio clip. I'm going to make it an array because I'm going to put 3 of different audio clips in this one, and I'm going to name them click clips. You can name it whatever you want. I named it click clips. And the other thing we need is actually an integer to actually know which language we have selected. To actually create that, we're just going to create an integer. I'm going to name it language or langint. We can name it, I'm going to language int. I'm going to make it equal to 0 at the start. So as I said, I'm not going to add Farsi in this video because Farsi is very complicated. It's going to just make you guys confused. I'm just going to add English and Portuguese. And adding Farsi is kind of the same. But if you want to actually know how to add Farsi or Persian or Arabic in your game, you can watch my previous videos. It is actually 2 parts that I've told you guys how you guys can actually add that. I've put a link in the description to that. What do we want to do next is we're going to create a function for when we hover over these languages. Let me just give the script I created to my game object. I'm just going to deactivate the previous script that I had so it doesn't use that. I'm going to add my language changer YouTube script that we created just now, this one, to my language selector. I created an empty object and I gave it an audio source. You can give the audio source by clicking on this add component and type audio source. It's going to add an audio source. You can just remove that because I have an audio source from before. Okay, and what it needs now is these text files, an audio source, and 3 clips. Okay, for the audio source, you can just drag and drop this one, copy it onto the audio source, or you can just click on this circle and find your audio source. For the Portuguese text, Persian text, and English text, I have them inside this canvas, inside this language pack. We have English, Portuguese, and Farsi. So for the English, I'm going to give the English to English, Farsi to Persian, and Portuguese to Portuguese. And we have a social media text and select language text. For the select language text, it is actually this one. I'm going to drag and drop it here. Social media text is actually this link to social media. I'm going to create the hover function. For example, when we go on to the, as you guys saw when we went on to the English, its text changed to green and it made a clicking sound. The select your language text and link to my social media text, changed. To actually create this, we're just going to say, I'm going to create a comment section. I'm just going to say hover function. And inside here, I'm going to add English. Okay, for the English, I'm going to create 2 functions for when we enter the button and for when we exit it. So for the enter, I'm just going to say public. You have to make it public so you can use it outside the code. Public void. I'm going to name it English color in. I'm going to name it English color in. You can name it whatever you want. And another void, public void, English color out. That's it. That's for the hover function. So to actually create the function, what did we do when we hovered inside? We changed its text to green. So to actually change the text to green, we're just going to say English text that we created before up here, dot color equal to color dot green. Or you can give your custom color, any color you want. That's not given here. You're just going to have to create a public color 32 test color. You can give it the color you want. For example, instead of writing color.green, you're just going to say test color. A clicking sound appeared. So to actually do that, we're just going to say a source, our audio source that play one shot. What do we want to play? We just want to play click clips. House number 0, for example. For this one, I'm going to use house number 0. For the next one, for example, I use house number 1. So what to do? This was actually what we needed to do when we entered English. We just changed the color and we, play a clicking sound. So what to do when we exit it? We just reset the color. So we say English text dot color equal to color dot white. I'm going to make it white when we go out of it. We can actually test this function out. What we want to do is we need to go to our English button, the button we created for English. You click on this, you select your English button, this button, then you go to your add component, then you add event trigger. This is it. You add your event trigger, you open it up and you say add new event type. You go up and you find pointer enter for when we go inside the button, and you add a new type event for pointer exit. So for the pointer enter, we want to give the English color in. So we click on this plus. We give the object that has our script on it it's actually this language selector. So we drag and drop it here, or you can click on the circle to find it, and then you select the function from here. So you click on this, no function, you go and find your script. Mine is actually language changer YouTube. So you go and English color in is this one. So you select this, and for the exit event, you again click on this plus, again give your game object, then you again, and this time you go and find English color out. That's actually it. So now let's go and select the color we created. We actually created a custom color. You need to click on it and change the alpha from 0 to 155 to actually see the color. I'm gonna give it, for example, like this color here. So actually let's go and check it out. As you guys see, when I hover over it, it gives it my custom color. So that was for the English. We're gonna do it for Portuguese as well. Portuguese. So this time I'm just gonna kind of do the same thing. Portuguese color in, Portuguese color in, and the public void for Portuguese color out. And we kind of do the same thing here. So we're just gonna say Portuguese text dot color equal to color dot, this time, for example, I'm gonna give it a bluish color. So we're just gonna say color dot blue, and then I'm gonna play a sound. So I'm just gonna say a source dot play one shot. I'm gonna give it the click flips, this time house number 1, for example. And we can just reset the color from here. You can just copy this, paste it here, and change the color from blue to white. So that was actually the hover function. Now we want to create the clicking function. What we want to do is, for example, when we click on this English, we want all the text in our menus to turn English. To actually do that, we're just gonna say click, and so inside this, I'm just gonna create English. For the English, again, we're gonna create a public void. I'm gonna say click English. You can again name it whatever you want. I'm gonna name it click English. As I said before, we created an integer called language int. What we're gonna do inside here is actually just gonna say language int is equal to 0, for example. And for the Portuguese, click Portuguese. And in here, I'm just gonna say language int is equal to 1. Now what we need is a function to deactivate these 4 and activate these 3 and change all the language in our whole scene into Portuguese or English. So to actually create this function, we're just gonna go here in this underscore function. We don't need the update right now. You can delete the update. We're gonna do it inside an enumerator. So I'm gonna say enumerator. I'm gonna name it change lang, which stands for change language. To actually don't have this error, we're just gonna say yield return null, because you always have to return something inside an enumerator. Click English, and for click Portuguese, both of them are gonna go inside here, and in here we're just gonna check if we've clicked English or Portuguese. So up here we're just gonna say start coroutine, and we're gonna ask for our change language. So I'm just gonna say change lang. This is it, and you can just copy this, paste it here. It is actually the same. This is where we actually change the language. So the first thing we want to do is we want to activate our actual start menu. Instead of writing all of this, you can just go to your start menu. When you resetted everything, you can just copy this from your start menu, and you're gonna just paste it here. With Control C, you copy. With Control V, you paste. And instead of activating the language pack, you're just gonna deactivate all of them. You can just copy this again. And you can just change all of these equal to true. So you deactivate the language pack and activate the start menu. Under here, this is the actual function where you change the language. If lang int is actually equal to 0, so we know if we've set it equal to 0, we need the English language. And we're just gonna say else if lang integer is equal to 1. This time we know that we want to write in Portuguese. So that's actually it. So now to create the function, we need to access all of the text files in our start menu and change them manually. So to actually access all the text files, we need to create another array for all the text files inside our game scene. For example, I have the start menu, the setting, and the exit. These are 3. I have continue, new game, back. These are another 3. I have one for mouse sensitivity is actually here. We have go back and save. We have the resolution text. So we need to access all of these and change them one by one. For that, you're gonna remember what text has which house number. For example, for the house number 0, I wanna put start. For the house number 1, I'm gonna put settings. So we go inside here. We're just gonna say public text. We're gonna make it an array and we name it all texts. So the only thing we gotta do now is go up down here and change them manually. I know that alt text house number 0 is our start game. So I'm just gonna say alt texts dot text to actually change the text value of it. Put it inside these two. You can give it any value you want. For example, I wanna say start game with a space in between. I know that house number 1 is actually settings. So I'm just gonna say settings. I know that alt text house number 3 is actually quit game. So I'm just gonna say quit game. Actual script that I had, you can give it the value. I know that start game is actually this, settings is this, and quit game is actually this. So I just copy it and paste it here. I need to put 2 here because 0, 1, 2, not 0, 1, 3. Be careful about the numbers. In this video, I'm just gonna change these three, I'm just gonna change these 3 so you guys can actually see it. I'm just gonna changing these 3. But if you want to change other text, you can just give your text, for example, to house number 3 and change it from here. For example, you want to add something for, I don't know, resolution, you're just going to say alt text house number 3 dot text is equal to res, for example. Okay, to actually give the function to your buttons, you need to go to your English button. As I said before, it is actually empty. When you click on it, you click on this plus, on this on click. It's not the event trigger, it's something that every button has. It's on click. You select your button, you add the on click, you give the game object with the script. Is actually language selector, so I'm going to give it. I'm going to go into no function, language changer YouTube, click English for the changing process. And again, I'm going to go to Portuguese on this plus. I'm going to give it my game object with the script that I just created. Then I go to my language changer YouTube and I click on this click Portuguese. So that was for the clicking function. So for the English, when we change the colors, we also want the language change text and the social media text to change. So we're just going to say language text, select language text dot text. We're just going to say it's on English. For the social media, we're just going to say social media text dot text. I'm just going to say links to my media instead of social media. You can just copy this and paste it for Portuguese also into Portuguese color in links. I'm just going to add this. For the language, I'm just going to add this. So this is actually going to work. Let's go and check it out again. So right before testing it out, we need to give each of the values to our script. This one, and these 4. So we need to give it one by one. You can, just go to its number, add 4. It opens 4 spaces for you. You can give it one by one. So for the language pack, I'm just going to say English. For example, English is 1. It doesn't matter. And for the start menu pack, we have 3, start, settings, and quit. So I'm just going to say 3. And I'm going to give it one by one. This is start. This is setting. And this one is exit. And for the alt text, as I said, I just wanted to change these 3. So I'm just going to add 3 of them. And I'm going to, go to their text file. You cannot give it their button. You have to go to their text file. You just click on this here and it opens and it shows you the text. I go to my language selector. I give it their text, setting text, exit text. You can change their name so you guys know what this actually is. And we need 2 audios for the clicking sound. So I'm just going to say 2, UI1, UI2, UI3. I'm going to say UI3 this one, UI2 for this one. You can add whatever you want. I added this. So let's go and actually check it out. So as you guys see, it changes. As you guys see, you can hear the audio. I'm going to select English. As you guys see, this actually remains. And my language is English. And instead of start, it says start game. So you guys know actually it worked. And let's test it with the Portuguese language. When I click on Portuguese, as you guys see, these 3 texts changed into Portuguese. This was the function I created that I used in my own game. As you guys saw, this was actually my game. I tried to explain it as simple as I could. I'm sorry that it's been a long video, but I tried to explain everything that I knew and everything that I learned, when I was testing it out. So if you enjoyed this video, a like would be amazing. And you can subscribe to see more contents like this. And you can also tell me your opinions or any questions you have or anything you want in the comment section. I will definitely answer them. I'm gonna go do something for the end of the video as I did in all my videos. So this is what I created for the end of the video. I hope you guys like it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.